Welcome to class, another episode of Ask the Teacher with Teacher Teresa Simon. And today I'm coming to you from the studios of Mamlaka TV. That's why you have the honor of having somebody to ask the questions on your behalf. What is today's question?
How have we moved from traditional view of sex to the current acceptance of LGBTQ?
Wow. How do we get ourselves in this space where LGBTQ is mainstreamed as opposed to the traditional setup of sex, the traditional mode, the traditional norm of sex? How did we get here? Interesting question, because this is a question of dynamics. Like we say, culture is dynamic. And as culture moves, as it evolves, a lot of things evolve with it. And so as we talk about moving from the traditional sex norm to where we are now, we got to view it at what has happened to the world. The world as we know it now is a product of 4 revolutions. Those that are known and talked about. We have the agrarian revolution that revolutionized the way agriculture is looked at. We had the industrial revolution. That one revolutionized production and especially got us into what is called mass production. Then we have the digital revolution or the information technology revolution that is ongoing and we are experiencing now. This one has dictated, it has changed the way information is disseminated. The one revolution that is hardly talked about and yet it is a main contributor to change is the sex revolution. And the sex revolution has happened not in an year or a decade. It has happened over many, many years. It has had several phases, and I would say phase number 1 is what we find in Genesis. It is where the terrestrial beings had sex with human beings. That is the first season where we see sex moving away from what was believed. And so the Bible says, and that is how giants were born. Then we move forward. We come to a place during the rule of the Roman Empire where we had another big sex revolution that mainstreamed 2 things: homosexuality and prostitution. Prostitution was mainstreamed especially as part of worship. And homosexuality was mainstreamed especially between masters and slaves. And so that was then. After that, we have a revolution that is hardly talked about where the church challenged those norms, the Roman norms. And so they challenged it and it was a big debate that went across the world and they were discussing why and why not. But then finally, we have what is called the American sex revolution, that is the mother, as I would call it, the mother of LGBTQ. What happened just before the turn of the 20th century, there was a debate that did not really pick up. Somebody tried to touch it in the 20s, it did not pick up. By in the 60s, we had 2 things that happened. There was the first pornographic movie called the Blue Movie, and then there was a pornographic magazine called Playboy. People from Generation X might know it. So what happened is that the American sex revolution revolutionized, it mainstreamed pornography as a tool of dissemination of sexual information. That is when now we started having almost everything being sexualized. Today, you have almost every advert has a sexual connotation. Even an advert for fishing, an advert for vehicles, an advert for a tractor, but it has a sexual connotation. That is how this has happened. So what happened after the American sexual revolution is that we got ourselves now to a place where the pornography is being used as a tool for dissemination of sexual information. That now what it does is that it makes pornography easily available. It makes the sex talk no longer taboo, and then therefore it opens the space for all these sexual fantasies and things that people do in the name of sex. So we are here not because of something that happened yesterday, but because of a dynamics of a thing that has been happening over the years. In coming episodes, we will look at some of these things in isolation and how they work to build up the bigger picture. But this is what the teacher has to say, that the acceptance of LGBTQ has more to do with the continuum of the sex revolution than with any single event that has happened in the recent past. That's what the teacher has to say.